It's finally happened. The New World expansion has been revealed. New World Rise of the Angry Earth is coming this year, and it's coming on the 3rd of October, and there is so much news regarding it. We have a cinematic trailer, and when I say there's news, there's so many details. So I'm going to play the cinematic trailer, and I'm just going to play the footage that has gone in the press kit apparently. And I will talk about every little bit of information that I think we currently have. And there's a lot of it. Let's jump in. So as I said, this is New World's first paid expansion, and the price is $29.99. I'm not sure how much that'll be in pounds and euros, probably a rough equivalency, okay? There is a deluxe edition that new players can get for $70, which actually includes the base game and the expansion. And let me just say that the cinematic trailer is absolutely gorgeous. It's simply beautiful. There's a lot of things in it. We obviously see the first sights of mounts. We see what appear to be like minotaurs, basically Tauren. And overall, the detail and the quality is exceptional. The vibe, the theming, everything in the trailer and a lot of the videos is looking very, very good. There's obviously going to be a new story. We sort of know a little bit about it, that the Angry Earth is taking over First Light and it's going to be called the Elysian Wilds. I thought it was going to be the Elysian Wilderness, but it's the Elysian Wilds. And of course, with that, you can now tame mounts. It actually says you can tame and ride them. And the mounts seem to come in 3 different types, which had been leaked before. They are going to be horses, direwolves, and lions. They all have a unique look, and there is actually customizable options on them. There's both decorative items that you can customize and actually like power, which basically like, making sure you've got something that goes a little bit faster when you sprint kind of thing. And there is a whole trade skill that comes along with that. It does say taming, which I'm not 100% sure how that's going to like work, but that's very interesting in itself. Also worth noting that MMORPG is reporting that there will actually be these races. Now, they're not races against other people, but it's more like races against the clock, just to see how quickly you can do something, getting from A to B and sort of optimizing the speed. I think like Dragonflight or something like that. Yeah, that sounds really cool. And the big news from this expansion is that a lot of what I predicted is coming to fruition. There is going to be some new progression. We are going up in levels. There is going to be a level increase. It is now confirmed to be level 65. And the gear score is going to 700. By the way, you don't get access to all of this if you do not pay for the expansion. Just worth keeping in mind. Also worth noting that the trade skills are indeed going up to 250, which likely means tier 6. However, I've not actually seen anything that fully confirms tier 6 yet. There will be a new tier of faction gear as well, or at least at the faction vendor. And speaking about items, there is going to be something called artifacts, which sort of seems similar to exotics from Destiny 2. Basically, they're like new end game gear, and they have a lot of perks. I think you can maybe only have one on at a time. I think maybe like one in your armor piece and maybe one in the weapons. I've sort of read that, but it's hard to confirm. And effectively, they have a lot of perks. I think they actually say they have 6 perks, and they have a perk that is unique to that item, as in no other item in the game has that perk. Very exciting. And in the Balance of Power video today, they basically spoke about how you need to unlock some of those perks. So you get the item, and then it might say, go and do Genesis or something. So you go and do Genesis, and then you unlock it. Really cool system. Now, with the gearing just in general, expertise is also gone. Now, I mentioned that here because it really impacts the way that gear drops. There is no expertise, so once you get to like level 65, gear will just start dropping, and whatever gear score it drops, you're stuck with it basically. And effectively, it's going to work as we sort of expected with the mutations. If you do like the end game mutations, the gear is more likely to just drop at 700. And if you do anything lower than that, then it might be like 690 or what have you. Anything that drops above 675 will actually be a legendary. So no longer is it just 700 and that's it. It'll just be 675. Therefore, if you do get something that's 674, you can't really make it legendary. It just is what it is. There is, of course, a new weapon. It was heavily rumored, but it is now confirmed to be the flail. There's a bit of footage around the flail and it looks really exciting. There's actually stuff about the weapon mastery and stuff like that you can see. All in all, the flail is looking pretty sick. There's basically a tanky boy and then a support. Really, really cool weapon. And the weapon itself sort of has an animation. So when you swing it, there's like a chain, obviously, that swings with it. It actually looks really damn cool. All of the expansion mainly takes place in the Elysian Wilds. That is the First Light zone that has been redone. Now, a lot of people are a little bit unhappy about this because it appears that this is the only zone in the expansion. And there's an interview where they say they really want to just concentrate on making use of the space that they had. For me, it's a little bit weird to add mounts when you're not really expanding the map. But I mean, you know, it looks like a very, very nice zone. Visually, the upgrade from First Light to the Elysian Wilds is absolutely like crazy to me. It's really, really significantly better. And weirdly, Eden Grove is now going to be like a normal zone. So it's going to be capturable, you're going to be able to have wars there, etc. And actually, in Eden Grove is where you start the quest so that you can go through the wall in what used to be First Light but is now the Elysian Wilds. A little bit like Brimstone Sands, basically. There is going to be a new expedition. They only talk about one, and that is called the Savage Divide. And basically it just looks like an expedition that has all the animals from the zone. So there's like gorillas, there's mammoths, all kinds of cool looking stuff. There's a new heart rune ability which is called Primal Fury, which is basically like stomping the ground and swiping like a gorilla maybe. And there are actually gorillas in the footage. There is of course going to be the season 3 content, which I think is probably like normal. It's going to have a free version and a premium version and a normal season pass. And with that they're actually putting the PvP rework under that. That's basically where there's going to be these towers. You capture those towers, then you do the missions, and basically that gives you the influence push. And if you succeed, you get the war. And if you lose, i.e. the defender actually holds, the next time there is a war, the defender gets better rewards. That's very interesting. However, in the expansion, there doesn't look to be any more PvP content. There is one thing that appears to be a thing that looks like there's going to be a separation between PvE and PvP, like completely. In one of the videos that I've seen, it says this weapon is disabled for PvP balancing. So it sort of sounds like there's going to be complete separation. And they actually do say that the weapons, the ranged weapons and magic weapons are just going to get buffed in mutations, for example, just in PvE it says. And then for Ward it just says that they'll just, you know, scale around it basically. The main story quest is being updated in Eden Grove and Greatcleave. We learned that resilience is gone, and indeed it is going to work how we thought, so that light is going to have 15% reduction, medium 20% crit reduction, and heavy 25%. So the heavier you are, the less likely you're going to get a crit. There will be a PTR, but we're not 100% sure when that's going to happen. And there's just lots of other, like, I don't want to say little things because they're actually quite big. For example, there's going to be something called loot biasing. Now what this is that you are more likely to get loot for the stuff that you are currently equipped with. So let's say you're a tanky boy with 1 billion con, well then you're more likely to get items that have con and that are for heavy tanks. However, if you don't want that, and let's say you're opening your Outpost Rush crates, you could change to be, you know, maybe like light mage, and that's the kind of gear that you would get. A really interesting system because they effectively want to reduce the amount of items you get, make them actually like worthwhile so you don't have so many items in your inventory, but make it so you actually want them. And that loot biasing is going to help with that because they don't have to like scattergun approach it. You actually just get the gear that you are supposed to get or that you want. There's also going to be approximately 100 extra attributes, and there's going to be a new attribute threshold bonus at 25 and 350. That 25 one feels like it came out of nowhere, but the 351, that's sort of what we expected. They're also going to be doing like an overall rework to perks, some better weapon perks for example. They spoke about how there might be like fire damage on armor, and there's one called Magnify where if it drops then it's maybe like a constitution item, but you actually have more strength, like you just total more strength, then instead of it being con, it will actually change to strength, which is pretty weird but also quite cool. They spoke about a great axe, which I don't remember the name of. I think it was called Abyssal, that actually scales off int. Some like really crazy stuff coming to items, I think. They're also going to decrease the amount of XP you need to level up your weapons by about 30%. And it sounds like crafting is getting quite a lot of changes. So the crafting range is going to be decreased. So instead of it maybe being like 695 to 700, it might be 698 to 700. That sounds like that's going to happen by default. There's also going to be 2 items that are going to be very strong, I think. The Azov Inductor basically increases the gear score. I think it effectively lets you craft at gear score 700, but it will have random perks. However, there will be a Prismatic Scarab, which will let you select the exact perks you want. But that, I think, will not be gear score 700, it'll still have a window. However, you can combine the two, and you know what? You can craft your gear score 700 stuff, and you can select the exact perks. So if you want a specific item, no more gambling all the time. You can literally just pick that and get that. Very, very cool. Honestly, there is so much to unpack, but that's pretty much like all the headlines that I have found so far. They basically went on like a press tour, I think, Scott and everybody. That might be why they're in Seattle. They might have just been talking to some press, or there might be some other reason. But either way, There's a lot of like news articles and stuff like that. The trailer's out, there's extra footage out, which I've got permission to actually use, by the way, so don't stress there. Everybody is blown away. There's a little bit of mixed feelings in a lot of areas, I think for two main reasons, let's be honest. One, the lack of PvP content. There might be a little bit of surprise in the Elysian Wilds. I think we might end up with like PvP islands or something like that. I really do think that, but there's no indication of that right now. And then the fact that we just have one rework zone, which is a little bit weird, but like let's just treat it, it's one zone, but I think one zone in an expansion when we had brimstones, it feels a little bit sad, but I don't want to put too strong of a negative on it. I think overall there's a lot of like absolute W changes here, and the Copium Prophet himself sort of got most of these right. There's so many changes, and a lot of it I think is moving in the right direction. The cinematic is beautiful. All the footage I've seen right now is very good. I'm very, very, very interested, and I can't wait to unpack this further. We had a mad time on Twitch today. You should definitely hit me up there. And it looks like no delay. It's currently scheduled for the October 3rd, even though the Americans put it as 10/3, which, you know, it's just weird, you know. Sort out your dates. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm pretty sure you will. If there's anything specifically you want me to try and like clear up, or any specific area you want me to focus on, do let me know. I hope you have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.